You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this episode. With us today is Josh Thomas, the founder of Factor One. He promises that he can grow your service-based business by 100% in 90 days. So that sounds like a great offer, Josh. Josh, thanks for joining me. Tell me about your entrepreneurial journey, where you first started, and how that brought you into what you're doing today.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks for bringing me on here, Chris. So I can go way back if you want.
Yeah, anything
Ways back.
relevant to your experience and how that shaped you into starting Factor One and building it into what it is today.
Yeah, certainly. So the thing that I've noticed, I've been working with entrepreneurs as a consultant for more than 15 years. And the thing that I've noticed more than anything is entrepreneurs struggle to get started. And it's not like they don't struggle to decide to become an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. That's kind of a sexy thing to say, But what does it even mean, really? But the real struggle comes from inaction. Atomic habits, you mentioned earlier. Everybody can go to Google right now and Google the term motion versus action, and you'll see an article from James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits. And you're going to see that motion is this kind of act of constant preparation. You're getting ready for things, you're nesting, you're preparing. All that stuff's important, but motion by itself doesn't create results. Action creates results. And if you're not taking action, you are not doing things that are going to create results. And a lot of times the problem with entrepreneurs is we get stuck in motion and we mistake it for action. We say we're busy, but we're not really busy. We're just spinning our wheels, literally in motion. And that's the thing that I started noticing over time is a lot of people would tell me, I'm getting ready for this. I'm getting ready for that. Okay, cool. I caught you right at the beginning of your journey or whatever. But then they're still getting ready, like a year later. And then 10 years later, they're working at Starbucks. And when I started paying attention to that, I started realizing, no, you're not getting ready for something. You're in motion. Emotion is great, but you have to couple it with action. And once I started noticing that, that's when I really homed in on how do I get people to take that action, see that that's the problem, that it's not the next shiny object, it's not the next mindset shift, but just sort of dirty, messy action and figuring it out as you go. What's the best way
1000%, Josh, you hit the nail on the head. I see it all the time as well, where these entrepreneurs, business owners are just stuck in this preparation phase. They're just going through the motions and they never actually take that action. We'd rather see imperfect action. Just do something and then you'll learn more from that action. And then you can kind of take that further. So I assume a lot of your coaching or mentoring or what you do actually kind of holds entrepreneurs accountable to taking action. Is that correct?
So accountability is paramount to everything. I can show you some pretty cool strategies and I can help you get your messaging right. And we can figure out a neat promotional campaign or something. We could probably do that. But if I did none of that, and instead I just did one other thing that had nothing to do with business strategy whatsoever, your chances of success would actually be higher. And it actually has to do with accountability. Accountability alone can practically guarantee your success in everything. There's some science that backs this up. There's been a bunch of studies done, and I'll give you some round numbers just to illustrate a point. I like to talk about a trip to Greece. I'm going to take a trip to Greece. I'm committing to myself that I'm going to take a trip to Greece. Internally, I am being accountable to myself that I will take a trip to Greece. My chances of actually going to Greece when I commit internally with my own integrity is about 25%. 1 in 4. So if I say I'm going to Greece every year for the next 4 years, one of those years I'll actually go. Now, how do I increase my chances of fulfilling that commitment to myself? I make a commitment to somebody else or an external commitment to any third party. Chris, I'm going to take a trip to Greece. I'm committing to you that I'm going to take a trip to Greece. Now, if I do that, my chances go up substantially. About 65% chance I'm going to Greece at this point. 2 out of 3, right? So, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but 65% is basically a failing grade in almost every US school. So it's not that great either. How do I exponentially increase my chances that I'm going to follow through and be successful with something? If I am committed internally, an internal accountability, and I have external accountability, the thing that really makes it work, the magic, is time. Chris, I'm going to take a trip to Greece. You and I are going to sit down on Saturday at 2 p.m. and mash out the itinerary, and I'm going to buy the tickets. Now that I've included time in my accountability, according to science, my chances of following through and booking that trip to Greece and actually going is around 95%.
What a jump.
Big jump. You're practically guaranteed to do it as long as you have those 3 points of accountability, and you do need all 3. But most people leave out the time part. I'm going to do this. I've decided, I mean, how many times have you seen on your social media feed, I've decided I'm going to be a real estate agent or something, right? Oh, yeah. Everybody gives them like the applause and the dopamine hit and all that stuff. But then they never do anything. They never even get their license because, well, I had to work overtime. The kids got sick. I just got so much going on, blah, 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 blah. You weren't committed to the time. So it didn't happen. And it fell into one of those 25, 65% chances it's going to happen. Unfortunately, luck didn't work out for you that time.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we have to lie to ourselves sometimes where we say we're going to do something, but we're not holding ourselves accountable. We don't put the time associated with it. So that way it's just sort of this, it can happen whenever. And as long as it does at some point, well, I will have achieved my goals. But at the end of the day, we are trying to achieve that next level of success and we want to take action. Those kind of, once you put the time element in there, that sounds to be more in line with what a SMART goal would be or what we tend to think of it as. But I feel like you may have a different perception on what a SMART goal would actually be or how beneficial it is once we put that time piece into it.
First of all, everything that you do should be urgent. If it's not urgent, then it probably won't get done. And there's some science behind that too. Now, I'm not a scientific guy per se, but after working with 5,000 plus clients, you start to realize some trends and you can't just take anecdotal evidence at face value. So I don't really dug into this. The reason that anything that you do has to be urgent is because if it's not urgent, your brain doesn't register it as a priority at all. And it'll just keep getting pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. And the reason, without going too deep on the science there, is our brains are pre-wired, pre-packaged for survival only. I have an immediate threat to my survival. I have to solve that problem now. And if we don't place things in front of us as an urgent, immediate problem that needs to be solved, our brain is going to push it off and it's going to filter it out and say, okay, that's cool, but where's the saber-toothed tiger? Okay, that's cool, but where are we going to get our next meal? Like your brain is constantly just like having a panic attack of figuring out how we're going to make it through the day. You're fine. There are no more saber-toothed tigers. If you're listening to a podcast, you're probably not living in a country that's ravished with famine, but your brain doesn't know that because it hasn't had a firmware upgrade in hundreds of thousands of years. And so we can hack that, first of all, by making things uncomfortably soon. If you're going to set a goal, I want to earn $1 million in income in the next 12 months. Okay. There's some debate on whether or not that's actually an achievable goal. Okay. It could be achievable for you, but if you made $50,000 this year, it's a stretch. If you made $200,000, okay, maybe you could make some changes, but let's take a look at the time frame. 12 months is a long time. And so while you might be able to say this is an achievable goal for me, it's kind of hard for us to create any urgency for something that's going to happen in 12 months. Like if you really think about it, I got this doctor's checkup coming up next October. I'm going to get ready for that. Like said no one ever, you got the doctor's checkup and it's like, it's in 2 days and you're like, oh man, I better quit eating potato chips so that I don't get, a high blood pressure when they take my blood pressure or something. Like that's
Right.
when you're thinking about it.
You're not thinking about that 6 months bag. It's like 2 days before.
Yeah. Or like, oh crap, there's a dentist. I got a dentist appointment on Friday. I better
I better
flossing
start
this week.
flossing.
You know? Now, so if you want to make $1 million in the next 12 months, what can you do this month? And what can you do this week? How can you take something and crunch it down into like a 6 to 7 day window? It's a little uncomfortable because it means that I have to do something about it now. But that's what you want. Remember, motion versus action. If it's 2 weeks away, even, that's motion. I don't have to take action on anything that's 2 weeks away. But if it's tomorrow, better get to work. But it's uncomfortable. I'm exerting energy. I'd rather just push it off. Let's circle back to this in a couple of weeks. It's another one of the phrases I hate. Circle back. What does that even mean?
Put a pin in it. I'm going to sleep on it. Find some way to convince myself procrastination is okay.
Exactly. And so when we make things urgent, though, it triggers that survival brain. And that survival brain is strong, controls your entire body. And so if I'm faced with an action and I have to take action now because I have to get results in less than 7 days, I'm not going to sit around on it. I'm going to act. I'm going to take action. And remember, action creates results. And so if you're going to set a goal, make sure that the time frame is urgent. It has to be achievable, and we can talk about that, but it needs to be urgent. Anything that you're doing as an entrepreneur, it has to be urgent. And if it's not, that's probably why you're stuck.
Absolutely. One thing I love that you mentioned is that it should make you uncomfortable. We need to feel more comfortable with being uncomfortable. This is where we realize what we're actually able to accomplish when given this deadline, this time goal, we're actually able to take action on it. And I see very varying spectrums where it's either they just take action without any forethought. And it's like, okay, I love the action, but I'd love to see a little more education. And then on the flip side, you see people who are just stuck in this ever revolving area of learning. They're like, I need to learn one more thing. There has to be one more tool, and then I can take action. Just find that balance, put that time constraint to it, and then you can actually take it to the next level. And I love that you brought that up. You have to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable.
It's the hardest thing because our brains are wired for survival. They're also wired for comfort. Our brain secretes a series of hormones to reward us and encourage us for certain behaviors and create penalties and discouragement for other behaviors. And it all has to do with your personal survival and the continuation of our species. And so that's the reason that a lot of people have eating problems, because when you eat something that is high fat, high carb, you get a ton of rewards from your brain chemicals for that, because carbohydrates give you immediate fuel so that you can fuel your body in the case of a crisis and you can survive. Fat is stored for later in case you can't find a source for food, so you can make it through for a longer period of time without eating. That's why potato chips are awesome. That's why bacon and French fries are awesome, because we're getting rewarded because it's high carb, high fat. Protein's hard to digest, but it is essential for our survival. And all that other stuff, it's like, this is harder work, so I'm not going to give you the reward chemicals for it, right? And so our brain is designed for comfort, but comfort is in direct contradiction of progress. If you want to be successful, you have to be uncomfortable. If you want to just survive, go stay in the cave, eat as much as you can, and be a worthless blob. That's what your brain wants. It wants you to stay in the cave and be fat and motionless, because that increases your chances of survival.
It's incredible how our brain actively works against us, in a sense that we're trying to achieve things that the brain necessarily doesn't feel like is very important to us right now. It has different motives, has different factors that motivate it. And we're like, okay, how do we turn that brain off or switch it or hack it in a way that it can now benefit us and we can stop from ourselves from getting in our own way?
And that's the challenge, hacking it, right? Because your brain is basically your overprotective grandmother. No, no, just stay home. It's getting dark and dangerous. We don't want to. Here, have an extra helping of mashed potatoes. Like, that's what your brain is. But now that we know it, like, we can't change our brain. We can't rewire it technically, but we can hack it. If we know that the strongest sense that our brain has is survival, how can we put things in a way to where they look like they are essential to our survival? Okay. And the first hack there is urgency. If you make something urgent, it's going to kick in your survival brain, and your survival brain has access to all of the resources in your entire body. And it has access at a moment's notice. Like, shit, there's a tiger. Let's go. Right? Like, it's ready. You didn't think you could run that fast because your brain won't let you run that fast until there's a tiger. And then the tiger shows up and is like, oh yeah, watch this, hold my beer. And you're gone. And so if you can make things urgent, then you have access to those resources that your brain is cutting off right now because just in case.
Uh-huh.
That's one. The other thing that you can do is understand, how are you being rewarded? Okay. So dopamine is the reward chemical. When you do things that enhance your chances of survival, your brain says, cool, good job. Good job, little Johnny. You got a reward. Okay. Serotonin is another one. Serotonin is the community chemical. And it basically says, if you are in a group, it's much less likely that a lion out in the prairie is going to pick you out and maul you and eat you, because safety in numbers. And so whenever you go around people, when you share a joke, when you meet somebody that you really vibe with them, it feels good. That good feeling is serotonin pumping through your body. It's rewarding you, and it's saying, yes, go and make relationships with other people because that will protect you. Oxytocin is the intimacy chemical. That's when you're with your significant other and you have that feeling and that bond, because that's what's going to continue the species. That's a survival mechanism. And endorphins are basically, a painkiller where, let's say the lion does attack you and they rips off your leg. And you're like, man, that hurts. And then your body's going to shoot full of endorphins so that you're not thinking about how much it hurts, so that you can escape. You have a chance of escaping back to the cave and still surviving. Right? You see how every single hormone your brain releases is about enhancing your survival. Now that we know that, we can rearrange the stimuli in our lives to maximize the hormones that are being released that reward us. And we can hack those rewards towards progress, not necessarily protection and survival. But I want to wire my dopamine sensors to, when I hit a new business goal, that's enhancing my survival. I want to wire my serotonin sensors to, this is my network, and I was able to build a stronger relationship with them. That's my survival. HR is probably going to be against you enhancing your oxytocin with your coworkers or whatever, but there's probably a way that you can figure that out as well if you're kind of purposeful about it. That's the idea.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important for us to be able to utilize all the tools in the best way possible. That includes our own brains, to be able to put that all together and then start taking action. So once we kind of have our brain figured out, we figure out what those motivators are, we put time to our goals, and we start to take action. What do we as service-based entrepreneurs do to better market ourselves, to put ourselves in front of the right people or get found? We're putting together these offers and landing pages and ads that we're trying to connect and build relationships with other people. Has there been a specific channel or area that has just been so effective? I mean, clearly working with over 5,000 plus entrepreneurs, what's been effective for you? Has it been kind of like a tiered strategy where first you started with this and then you got to this level?
So I'm going to share something with you that you probably don't hear very often, and it's going to be way less tactical than the question you're asking me. But I think this is the most important thing. And if you can get this right, then your chances of success and deploying some of those tactics later will be much higher. And it's same thing going back to accountability. Like if you're accountable to time, then your success is almost guaranteed. And so if you follow what I'm about to tell you, your success is almost guaranteed. Now, here's the thing. Entrepreneurs, let's say anyone under $2 million in revenue right now, and that's a big portion of people. That's probably hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs right now. If your business is earning less than $2 million per year and you're focusing on anything besides getting cash and sales in the door, you're focusing on the wrong thing almost every single time. Now, I say almost because there are certainly exceptions. And there are super high profit businesses that can start focusing on other things. But your number one goal until you get to around $2 million in revenue should be bringing in immediate cash and sales in the door as quickly as possible. And the reason for that is if you have healthy sales and cash flow, you don't have a business problem. You have a misallocation of resources, which is easily solvable by just pointing all that money you got at the problem. It gets eradicated. And so if you're trying to solve an HR problem, or if you're trying to solve a marketing problem, or if you're trying to solve a positioning or a strategic problem in your business and you're under $2 million, let's bring it back in and let's refocus on how do I get cash and sales in the door by any means necessary. Whatever has to be done, how am I making money today? That needs to be your number one focus until it just doesn't even make sense to focus on that anymore. When I focus on just that with my clients, that's how we can double their sales in 90 days or less, because we stop wasting time on irrelevant problems. We just focus on how do I get cash and sales in the door now? And if I can double or even triple your business in 3 months, you can solve a lot of pesky problems after that if you want. But the boot's off of your neck. Now you can actually think for a second and start building out a strategy, processes, procedures, all this other cool stuff that we want to work on. Let's solve the cash problem first. And so to do that, I got a framework I put together. It's called the Precise Method. And that's one of the things. It's just 7 very simple templates that you can use to go out there and inject quick cash into your business fast, usually in as little as 7 days in some cases. But again, it's not necessarily tied to any specific marketing channel or any specific strategy. They're frameworks that you can follow that have been proven to work, that have been proven to bring quick cash into your business fast.
2 really great points that you cover here that I just want to touch base on again is number one, such a quick ROI. That's what business owners, number one, when they work with agencies or anyone who says, I can help bring you more sales or more lead, they want demonstrated return on investment. Bottom line. Second to that is going to be, doesn't matter the channel, what it is that you're doing. It's actually taking that really uncomfortable action that you need to do and using those templates that you mentioned can be very beneficial. What's crazy to me is as an entrepreneur, it has to feel like you just got hit by a train. Someone comes in and tells you 95% of the things that you're working on right now aren't actually helping to bring in the sales. And we're going to redivert that attention towards the things that actually bring in the sales. And literally it works. And suddenly they have new kinds of problems. First it was, I can't get enough sales. And they're like, what do I do with all these sales? It's like the infomercials where the Tupperware is falling out and you're like, money's coming here. You're like, oh, what do I do with it? That's the point where you need to get. And it's so crazy. It's got to feel like, wow, things I've been told are just wrong. I need to do it this way because obviously this works. And that's what you're bringing to the table.
I had a client who was doing about $50K a month. And that sounds like a lot of money to some people, but if you're running a business that has any level of complexity, you're scraping by. Right. And so she's doing $50K a month. And I came in and we focused on, all right, how do we solve this problem? What are your goals? We set goals, 12-month goal. This is what we want to accomplish. What's your 90-day goal? Now let's break that down into what we can do this week. And we focused on finding a way to bring in some cash because we knew that that was going to make it easier to solve the next problem and the next problem, and the next problem. And what we were able to do is we ended up creating a new program that didn't exist before. It was a variation of a service that she already offered. And through offering that new service, we were able to actually triple her revenue within about 3 months. So she was doing 50K months. 3 months later, she was doing 150K months. And it was one simple change. And when she started doing 150K months, then it became a lot easier to go and figure out how to solve whatever other problem she had that was way less important at this point. Right. And so that's why I can't stress enough. You're given this kind of visual of like all this money falling on you. If you've got that problem, you don't have a problem.
It's so true, though. For those of us who are entrepreneurs and business owners already, you already know the calculations because you've ran these numbers before. For anyone who doesn't or doesn't want to pull out a calculator, 150K per month is just shy of $2 million a year. If you're looking to make $1 million a year, that's about $83,333.33 across the board over those 12 months. So it's crazy to hear the results that you can have with one little change, take that to the next level, and you just tripled their revenue within that 3-month time frame. That's incredible.
And I'll give you another example of the power of simplicity. Entrepreneurs are like trying to be rocket scientists or something. Stop that. I'm not that smart. I just do what works. And I get my clients to do what works to grow their business. And here's another one. I'll give this to you. Okay. Look, my very first client years ago, he was running a business. I think he was doing about 3 or 4 million. And he had a bunch of salespeople, way more than he needed, and he had kind of this service that he was offering through the sales. And there was a huge gap. And I was trying to figure out, like, this is the first guy that's ever paid me money to do work. So I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to screw it up. And so I'm like, all right, this is where it all came from. Okay, Chris, what is the best way that I can make this guy really happy that he decided to work with me no matter what else happens? And my answer to that question was, I need to get him a quick win and an immediate ROI. And so I can go and build all some structures and blah, blah, SEO, whatever, but nobody cares. You know, you're paying me money. Let me pay you back with money. And so I only was looking for, like, what's this one little lever I can pull that's going to get him an ROI? And it didn't take me long to figure it out at all. His sales team was not using a script. And so that was it. That was the answer. I wrote a sales script. And at the time, I'm way better at it now, but at the time I wasn't that great at it. And so the script wasn't even that good, but I wrote the script. And then I took it into the sales team and I was like, read this script when you're on the phone. And they were like, no, we don't use scripts. And I'm like, yeah, you should use this one. And there were some battles that happened, but eventually I won and I got them to use the script. And it's a whole nother story. Like, buy me a drink. I'll tell you the part of the story that I yada over. What ended up happening is they started using the script. And by the end of that month, they doubled their sales. This is a $3 million company. They doubled their sales in 30 days. And they eventually crossed 8 figures. So they did $12 million last year. And the primary difference was now they had a specific sales process that followed a logical pattern. They almost tripled their average ticket value, and they were selling more as a result because they were using a script and they were following a predictable process. That's it. I can scratch out on a napkin for you a sales script in 5 minutes, but it may not be the solution that you need, right? We got to figure out what's the solution that you need. And we do that one thing, and then we just do it over and over and over and over again, because this guy didn't get the $12 million overnight. He just started doing what worked and he kept repeating it until it produced more results.
That's incredible. Now, that's what it's all about. You said you wanted to find that quick ROI and how do I help you make your money back as quickly as possible? And you achieve those goals. I feel like that almost kickstarted that survival instinct for you. You're like, oh crap, now I really have to do, money's on the line. I'm getting paid for this. Something really needs to happen. And when it comes to business strategy and marketing, there's never a really one size fits all, sort of solution. There are different circumstances behind that. But when you're going into a business and you're kind of looking at the script, the process, everything that's involved with the offer, how were you able to get that triple order value? Did you expand service line? Did you reposition how you offered certain services?
Yeah, great question. So this particular company was a high-end travel agency, and they were selling tours to Europe. Okay. And their average order value was usually around $6,000. And then they were able to bump that to 50. And part of the reason for that, certainly there are, like you're suggesting, there are levers that you can pull for this. But I want to go back to the power of simplicity. And it is the messaging that they were using was so clear and so strong and so well vetted that the confidence that they were able to deliver it with allowed them to actually charge more. And they were basically saying, look, you're going to use us or you're not, but we're the best. And that's not a confidence they had before. The confidence came from using a predictable system and process that we put in place by just having them read a sales script. And then you develop the nuances and everything from that. But we have to start at the beginning and we have to focus on the fundamentals.
Yes, absolutely. All of those things are so important to actually taking your business to the next level, trying to increase that average customer value, trying to get more sales in the door. And again, just happier clients that are more than happy to share a review or testimonial, promote your services to their friends and family. And that's what it's all about when you're trying to create a long-term brand. It's not, focus too much on the short-sighted sales and, quick wins and then we're gone. This is more about, okay, we need quick wins so that we can serve more people, better serve our customers. And I think that's so incredible. Now, Josh, where can people find out more about Factor One, you individually? How can people connect with you and learn more?
So I just recently launched a free Facebook group called Move the Needle. And if you type that into your Facebook search bar, you'll probably find it. There's a picture of me on the cover, which you can't see me because it's an audio podcast, but the Facebook group is called Move the Needle. Brand new. I got probably about 50, 60 hours worth of free training in there for anybody who wants to jump in. And we're being very careful about vetting that group for active contributors. So if you're looking for a better place to network and connect with me, join Move the Needle. If you can't find it, you can find me on social media, on any social media at JT Literally. You run a business that is somewhere around that mark. You're not starting at zero. You've made some sales. You've been around for a little bit. You're frustrated for your lack of progress. You're hustling, but it's not taking you where you need it to go. It's probably worth us having a conversation. You can go to iamfactor1.com. That's iamfactor1.com. Watch a short 6-minute video. If that video resonates with you, book a call. Let's have an honest conversation. And let's see if there's something that we can do to help you. We do guarantee results. And so I'll be straight up with you. If I don't think I can help you, I'll just tell you, hey, this isn't the right thing for you, but go and do this instead or join my group or whatever. But if I can help you, I'm going to make sure that you're going to get that result. That's something that I've stuck with ever since that very first client. If somebody's going to pay me for services to help them, I want to make sure that you get the result that you're paying for, or else I'm not going to take you on, or I don't want to keep your money. So if that's you, if something I've said has resonated with you, you can go to iamfactor1. Watch that short video. If you like what you hear, book a call. Let's have an honest conversation, and we'll take it from there.
Josh, it has been a pleasure having you on. For all the other business owners and entrepreneurs, marketers out there who are listening, listen to this offer. Listen to how he's created value and is building relationships and brings that to you with this wonderful offer here. It is incredible. We're going to have the description and show notes below with all of the links that you shared with us today. And we'll have a link to that Facebook group as well. So check out Josh Thomas. He's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight and education with us. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you.